Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Timothy Tan, and I'm the head of Singapore Media Academy. Welcome to today's Brown Bag Lunch. Today's Brown Bag Lunch is proudly presented to you by SSG, our partners in the industry of advertising, AAMS, as well as Singapore Media Academy. I'd like to do a quick shout out to my team behind the scenes, from recruitment, from academic affairs, as well as marketing communications. And thank you, SSG, for putting this together, and our partners, AAMS. Today, we're going to talk about digital marketing, and we're also going to talk about the myths and challenges in the digital marketing world, with a ton of algorithms, with a ton of data that you can harvest. I think today we're going to talk very briefly about this very hot topic about digital marketing, and we're going to dispel some myths. We're going to highlight some challenges. If you ask me, I think that digital literacy skills are going to be a prerequisite of any jobs or any professionals very, very soon. Today, we're very, very proud to have with us someone who's extremely experienced in the world of digital marketing. He is Mr. Henry Goh. Henry has got a ton of experience and hands-on experience as an industry player. He is a leading speaker and a facilitator for training. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the floor over to Henry. Henry, please.
Hi, thank you. Let me get my slides on. Yeah, well. All right. Hi, I just want to make sure that all of you can see my screen clearly. Let me check. Let me just do a check.
Yes, we can hear you, Henry.
Yes,
so
great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome, all of you to this lunchtime. Thank you for availing your lunchtime. I know now we can all go out, and have a nice meal. But thank you for taking the time to hear me share something about digital marketing myths and challenges, in particularly for 2021. So without much ado, because time is not a lot, and I want to leave some time to answer some questions if you have them. Maybe for a start, I'll just maybe just spend a little bit, just a very short while, just to introduce myself a little bit more. So I'm actually the Director of Strategy at Neo360. We are actually a digital agency based out of Singapore itself. And we actually help clients grow mostly in Singapore, and I think a scattering of them in Australia as well. And I'm also the co-founder of Hackology. Hackology is actually our consulting and training arm. So outside of my busy time talking to clients and talking on strategies with them, I also do consulting and training work wherever I can. And of course, this sharing itself today is one of those sessions. Okay, so if you ask me, for marketing, I'm actually industry agnostic. That means I don't really lean towards any particular one. Over the last 10 years, I've helped, I think, enough companies across different industries to know that, there are certain principles that will hold true, and there are changes that will always be ongoing. Yeah, but my current focus is on B2B, e-commerce and education verticals. So this is where I perhaps spending a little bit more time just thinking about it, and also testing out new stuff with my team. So if you want me to describe myself in a nutshell, you can consider me a computer graduate. I'm actually a graduate in computing. Yeah, now it's very hot, right? Come cellist, half musician who started in IT So I studied in the IT industry. I grew up in the education space, actually. I spent quite a fair bit of time in education. I transformed myself and found my wings in helping people and brands grow digitally over the last 10 years, I would say, 10, 11 years now. Yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey. So these are some of the, the brands that I am still busy working with. Yeah, of course, there's a lot more than that, but these are the ones. You can probably tell that there's a mix of smaller to bigger to MNCs as well. All right. All right. So here we are. Let me organize my slides a little bit. Yeah, my screen. Yeah. So here you are talking about the myths and challenges. I mean, in reality, right, being in digital marketing, I mean, being so broad, there's a ridiculous amount of challenges I can discuss, because every day, I face challenges, right? Every month, the clients I talk to, they have different challenges, and we try to work through, we test new things. So, but unfortunately, since we have only 30-ish minutes, I think I really have to think very carefully. So I did really spend a lot of time thinking about what are the important things. So I have narrowed down to 3. I thought that, if I talk about all the challenges and myths, I mean, I can easily, take 10 to 20 of them and breeze through it. But I find that maybe that is not of that much value, because you can easily Google it. You just Google, now with Google being so prevalent, just Google digital marketing myths. So I wanted to add value and hope that, because I run an agency, I hope to share a lot more of the actual experiences of what is actually happening live, as I encountered it over the last few months or the last 2 years. Just my own personal disclaimer, all ideas and thoughts are based on my marketing experience, right? And my own point of view, and should not be taken otherwise, right? Okay. All right. Before I start off, let me start with, I frame all these things in terms of, in 3, all the 3 big issues in terms of questions, all right, of true or false question. So my first question to all of you is, social media marketing or ads whatsoever is expensive. So for those who are able to type in something, can you, if you still think it's true, can you put a 1? If it's false, can you put a 0? Well, I'll just let this dwell on you. So while you look at this, think about it, all right? Social media marketing, is it expensive? Okay. You may already have it in your mind. So if you can't respond, or if you are busy having lunch, and for those who have answered 1, you're probably half right. And those who have put 0, you're probably not incorrect too, okay? So let me share my thoughts, all right, on what has been happening. So how many of you are iPhone users here? I'm sure a great number, right? It's a very prominent brand, and I think it's very famous, rightfully, for doing a fantastic work with their branding and marketing. And if you are already using it, or even if you don't know, there is a big update, in iOS 14. Yeah. So to the users, it's just normal updates, right, to a phone. But for the marketers, right, this iOS 14 update has created a great impact on the marketing ecosystem. Probably even more than a lot of marketers realize themselves, right? So what has happened? If you are, earlier, I think late last year, so Apple has actually launched an update, a privacy update. Basically, they are just saying that, hey, I don't want the apps to track you so well. I'm going to protect the consumers, right? The users. So what they did was that to spring out this question. So if you actually install your app, you are going to see a screen in the middle. You are going to see that, pop out that says that, you ask the Facebook to ask app not to track. And even in the location wise, they have also implemented ways to obfuscate, your location, because there are a lot of apps, right, that actually relies on your location data. They track your location, they track what you do. And this is really for marketers, right, like me and my team, right, it's really a curveball. It's really a curveball. So, and what does this mean? What essentially, in this nutshell, what Apple has done is this. It has greatly reduced the quality of data being sent to Facebook and as well to Google as well. So across all the apps itself. So essentially, all these apps, right, they rely on a lot of data being sent to their central server, user data. So what happens is that, as you can tell, with Apple saying, hey, the gate, I want to lock it down, I want to cut it, I want to control the flow of information out of my OS. So what this does is has caused the platforms to report inaccurate results and hamper the efficiency of the advertising. So just as a real example, this is an example of a client, a real client. This is July data, so it's super recent, right? As you can tell, July 2021. So if you look at the top part, you actually see the arrows going up. This is actually the cost per lead. It's been going up ever since February. So February is the time where the update was actually rolled out. Yeah. And then you see the number of leads that are being generated. These are on Facebook leads. You see a decline. Yeah, so I actually draw an arrow just to highlight it. And this is where the impact actually started. So this is an example. This is quite representative because this particular client runs almost 30 Facebook campaigns at any one time. So I have enough. So it's not just a one campaign thing. Yeah, it's not a one campaign kind of activity. So let me show you another one. Right, another one has this is also another client. So if you look at it, if you look at the overall trend, the same thing over at January and February, time where the update really hit us earnestly. Of course, the update started earlier. So and you realize that in this case the number of leads actually increased. And the cost per lead actually reduced. So what is the point I'm trying to make? Yeah, there is you need to be able to know what to do. Yeah, there is always a way. Yeah, okay. And not only that, just to add some oil to the fire. If you are aware of, if you own a Facebook page or you have brands who are owners of Facebook pages, you realize by now that organic reach has been reducing across social media. That means if you post out something, only a small percentage of your followers or fans actually see them. Yeah, this is not really Facebook fault or Instagram fault or LinkedIn's fault. The reality is that there are a lot more content coming up. And because the platforms want the users to have a great user experience, they have to limit the number of posts from brands that you see. Because face it, all of us, we go into social media to what? To socialize with friends, right? Not to see ads, not to see posts from brands. That is not really why we go to social media channels. And they know this because user retention and engagement is key on their mind. So this is what happened. So I've shared about the challenges, so what can you do about it? What can you do about it? What can we do about it? I sprinkled this talk with a few golden nuggets. So if you see a golden nugget, you see the golden nugget up there, right? Yeah. So then it's something that important point I want to make. So behind every perceived challenge, yeah, remember, perceived challenge lies a great opportunity. Okay, if you stay calm and start digging, yeah, so you need to start digging in deeper and to see how to do. So let me share the three some thoughts on how to overcome this, yeah, in the social media marketing. But before that, let me frame, okay, our discussion based on three things you must understand, okay, in the world of today. One is to consider that sometimes we lose sight well, you lose track of the idea that we are actually marketing to real people. So we tend to think that everything is on digital. So sometimes we just try to write as if it's a very dry things. So we need to understand that actually the people reading it are just like you and me, and we have our fears and desires, and they are real, really real, you know. Although we show it, we are very quiet, you know, but we are real. And number two, if you see the middle, okay, there is the central image. There is a complex machinery at the back end operating any social media like Facebook, Instagram. Okay, and now lately, over the last 2-3 years, there's a lot. I think you have heard by now that AI, machine learning is big, right? So all these big players, be it Google or Facebook, all the social media, even TikTok, the newer ones, right, have all implemented some kind of machine learning and AI. That's how the machine works. There's no choice. There's just so much things that they have to process. And thirdly, you have to understand that in marketing, it is a competition, yeah? So it's an auction behind all the content. There's an auction system running. And you need to think like a performance athlete in marketing. So you have to look at the competitors and understand that your content or ad is being pitched to Facebook or some other platform to choose who to show. So there is these three things that you need to be aware of as we talk about what we can do. So what's the first one? First one here. So my first tip for you, all of you, is to do this to make sure that you differentiate your brand or offer. So with so many brands shouting for attention, right? You need to story tell something that is real about your brand. So you need to grow some likability, and you need to connect with your audience a lot more deeper. Because there's just too many shouting around. You know, a lot of advertising just say, oh, come and buy, so come and do this. Oh, this is what I have, come and do it immediately. Yeah, so sometimes we do impulse buy, we do take impulse action, but you don't really get any like true engagement. You don't get any true loyalty. You don't get, because it's just transactional, right? It's just very transactional. So what can you differentiate? So I give you an example of the differentiation, right? So I think Singapore, we like our bubble tea or our green tea. So if you look at the one that left, LiHo, it's a long time, right? And also Chicha, the one on the right is I think it came in not quite recently. So I give you this example just to show you, even brands, if you're in a very highly competitive space, right, you need to differentiate yourself. And I don't know whether anyone know what is the differentiation for the brand on the right? Any idea? Or I'm mistaken, now if you drink bubble tea, or maybe I'm drinking bubble tea now. So the reality is that the right side itself, okay, so they use espresso machine, right, to express out the tea. Yeah, and they show the machine very prominently, right? So what they are saying is this: hey, you know, my tea is fresh, my tea is real from tea leaves. You can actually see it. You know, it's not just packaged into like containers and then just dispensed out. So you see, all these things are really important differentiation, and that's also the reason why they are probably they have a price premium. You know, they are actually more expensive than LiHo overall. Yeah. So, but they do good business, right? They have quite a loyal following. Yeah. By the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I see someone has raised a hand. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I will just keep it later, unless someone can let me know what is the questions about. Or
Henry, I think we can take the questions later.
all right, sure. Let's take it later, right? Okay, thank you. All right, just feel free to ask, right? All right. Okay. So another golden nugget for all of you: a differentiated offering only works if it means something to your target customer. All right. Just let it sink in a little bit. All right. So you want to be different. You can't be different for different sake. And if you look at how you can be different, let me share a study by McKinsey. So, well, too bad we didn't have Singapore, maybe because we are so small. But I just want to make a point here that in today's context, right, the consumers, right, be it services or products, they really expect value and quality. So it's really expected. So you can't say things like, oh, I provide great value, or I provide value for money, I provide quality. So sometimes it's not enough, although it's still important that you do it. But I want you to take a look at the red bar. It talks about the purpose driven. So there's increasing, especially the younger cohort, younger as the demographics, the buyers get younger, right? Because I'm also getting older, right? So I'm in my 40s. So for the younger ones, they want a brand with purpose, right? With meaning. So if you are marketing to the future generations, this is something you have to think very carefully about and start thinking about your own brand itself when you're marketing online. I'll give you an example. Cloversoft, it's a wet wipes, right? I mean, wet wipes are everywhere. I mean, if you have a baby at home, you will use wet wipes and hand sanitizers. But you know what is the differentiation, right? They need to tell. So what they have done is that they have said that, they use bamboo, more sustainable, more eco-friendly, and they don't use bleaching agent. Right, so I've taken this from their website itself, just to show an example of what it means to differentiate. But just make me no mistake, if you know this, you remember this story, right? Brand marketing can backfire, right? So if you, for example, I don't know where you realize this. So this is a seafood restaurant, right? Who decided to walk the crabs, right? And they got kind of a backlash, and essentially the owners have to come and apologize. And yeah. So what does this mean? This means that, remember just now what I said, a differentiated offering only works if it means something to your target customer. So quality of key works because for their target customer, they are looking for people who really value the perceived quality. But in this case, sometimes you need to be careful and say, hey, does it really mean anything to my consumers? Does it mean anything? Or it's just could be too gimmicky. Yeah. So I have another nugget for you. Let this sink in as well. You can read it. Different is not always good. Yeah. But good is always different. So it's important that we continue to change and evolve. But just being different is not always a good thing. Yeah, but if you see a good brand like Apple, or if you see a good brand, any brand that you know of that you think is pretty good, I'm very confident that that you will always be able to identify something good about them. Yeah, so that's something very important because you are the target buyer. So, okay, let me go on to the second one. So that's the first one, all right? The first one is really to look into differentiating your brand. What's the second one? Okay, so if you are doing any content or advertising on Facebook, Instagram, I want you to consider testing story-focused sequence ads, all right? Okay, it's quite a big mouthful, right? All right, or content. So you can replace the word ads for content, test story-focused sequence content. People like stories through the ages. You like stories, I like stories. MediaCorp does stories, it's all about storytelling, right? And if you recall books that you read or shows that you see, they always end with a cliffhanger at the end, right, of an episode. Why do they do that? Because they need you to stay engaged, right? And they always want to give you a surprising ending so that you can wait for the next one that comes. So I feel that, personally, I think that our communication sometimes in social media from the brands tends to be a little bit too dry, too proper, for lack of a better word. Yeah, and sometimes it's good to think about what you can do. So this is an example of what I mean for those who didn't get what I said just now. So storytelling ads, right? Basically, if you look at the top ad itself, this is good, buy now. This is very typical, right? You're going to see, oh, I'm good. These are the good benefits, buy now. So, but for storytelling sequence ads, you'll be showing interest, but then you can still tell them to buy now. And you can share more information, you can buy now, and you can show your proof of your abilities that you are able to help them, and you can still put a buy now. Okay, but you don't have to outrightly just keep on shouting at them. Yeah, so this is what I mean by letting them know. People want to feel empowered to buy, right? They want to feel that, I mean, into this context, all the consumers are very smart. So we are living in a world now where consumers are super smart, have tons of research resources. They can Google anything, they can Facebook search everything. Yeah, yeah, this is really important. I do have a disclaimer though. For some products and services, right, a single ad can be enough. So it's not always true, but I'm just saying that if you find that you want to, you are having some challenges, it might be good to change a little bit of your way that you are running your ads. This is actually a study from Facebook itself, just showing that it's just to support, you know, what I said, yeah, that if you have a sequence call to action ads, right, the subscription rate, right, are higher. Okay, this is an example from their brand. And then if your conversion lift, that means people who, so if you don't, right, if you just do no sequence, you just keep on telling them, hey, you know, call to action, call to action, call to action only, your subscription rate could be lower, right? This is an example of a storytelling ad. This is a real life example. So this is not, well, I mean, because, you know, you must say, oh, I could say what is good and it's good. So this is an example of a storytelling ad for design thinking program. So instead of just saying, oh, you know, my trainers are good, everything is good, you know, come and join. You can just maybe take a look, let people think, help people to think and consider. That means, right, let them make their own conclusions on whether design thinking is useful. You know, give them examples, tell us a brand story of another brand, you know. And make no mistake, if you look at the one on the left itself, the data is taken from 2018 to 2020. So this ad ran for 2 years. And on a very low monthly budget. So this is a total budget across 2 years. If you look at the results, pretty decent, right? It's never stopped for 2 years. And for those, some of them, they were like, you never changed the ad copy. Yeah, I did not, because it's working so well. It's so consistent in performance. Yeah, so give me an example. This is another example. Unfortunately, I can't share the actual copy itself. But before the storytelling ad we launched, right, this is the results. And I'm talking about exactly same targeting, same, everything the same, all right? So just doing a storytelling, right? You look at the click-through rate, you look at the amount of leads, and the cost per result. So of course, not every campaign is going to be like that. But I'm just trying to support and share with you that this is some examples that sometimes you need to evolve the way that we create our ads and what we do for our advertising. All right, so what's next? So what you can do next is to create your organic postings with engagement, not action in mind. So this is related to the ads just now, right? So now I'm just saying that now for organic postings, so you know you post on your Instagram, your TikToks, or whatsoever all the platforms, right? This is a good example of what I mean, all right? Why do I say this? So this is a screen extract of a series of postings that has been done. So I want you to look at the reach column as well as the engagement column. So if you look at this particular post itself, you see the reach is 483, and then you have only 9 engagement, right? Let me show you another one. Here, you have 1.2K reach, and you have 82 engagements. So which one comes first? So in the content posting or organic post game, right, it's really all about the reach. If you can get more reach, let's say you have 5,000 followers, if you can get more reach, that would be fantastic, right? You'll be reaching more of your audiences. But how do you get more reach? So I don't know whether you can already see the trend, the pattern. the idea is to go for more engagement. So that means that whenever you look at your content, the way that you post, the type of content you want to publish, if you are not putting any ad budget to it, you're just sharing it out, look at whether it is engaging enough. Look at whether it's good enough and whether you get better engagement. Because the more engaged ads, right, more engaged postings, right, Facebook will give you more reach. So you see, it's as straightforward as that. So what they are trying to do is this. So the golden nugget is this: don't just sell, gel with your audience. Don't just sell. Don't just everything is a call to action or do this, do that. And go deeper. So if you want to do organic content, spend more time to think about the content. Do less, but do higher quality engagement content rather than do a lot. Gone are the days, in the past, right? Maybe in about 4, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe the game was to do a lot of postings. The more I post, I get more and more reach, and I can reach a lot of audiences. And some of them will get shared, right? And some of them can get viral as well. But viral is a little bit overrated nowadays, I feel, because people are just so busy. Of course, I'm not talking about the typical content creators like 9 Hours Cinematics where they create entertainment content. Those, they will always have a following because people just love to watch entertainment, right, on social media, funny stuff. Okay, number 4, consider if it is necessary to go on every social media platform. So right, every brand, right, all of us, right, all the companies, right, we all have limited resources, right? If you are working, you are doing marketing for your brand, you're going to have limited time and money to market on every platform. So the good news is that actually you don't need to. This study shows that this is a global study, right? So if you are a Facebook user, it's a very high chance that you are also using YouTube and using Instagram. This is the main thing it's trying to make, that a user that uses one platform will likely use other social media platforms as well. So there is no need to go crazy and just, I have to dominate every platform. Okay, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be exhausted unless you have a lot of resources. So what is the implication? So that means that you should choose your platform where you want to play. You want to choose your ideal platform to play. Well, it could be, do you want to choose LinkedIn? Do you want to choose Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok? Depending, So you have to think about two considerations, right? Where your ideal audience hang out regularly. That's one. And the second important is where your brand wants to be associated with. Because there's two, right? You have to balance between the two. Sometimes your ideal audience is somewhere, but you don't want to be there because of maybe just constraints, or maybe you just don't want to leverage on that platform. It's just not too much of your brain personality. So you choose so that you can optimize budget, resources, and manpower and reduce overlap, Right, and there's another thing that you want to take note of is that you don't need to maintain an organic presence to benefit from paid social posts. So you can run ads, right, without having to grow your following. In fact, because I'm usually running ads, right, as in the agency itself. So I will share that, hey, if you want to test, let's spend some budget and test the platform. Even though for that brand, right, that platform is totally new. They have not used it before. So you can test it. And you can feel free to swap between paid platforms as often as you need to. Now it's so easy. Create an ad account, run an ad. Of course, I have to put a caveat that you do need to know how to run the platform well. So for example, right, just doing Facebook boosting, right? Well, it's okay. It's an easy way, but you may not be getting the best effectiveness, although it will be easy for you to do so. So my nugget to you is that you discover which one works through research, but you uncover through your testing. So you should be, always be happy to test new things. And you can always discover through research. You can always research things and find, hey, my users like to be on this platform, I go there. But you should uncover it through your own personal experience and testing over time. All right, so this is what I mean by, social media is expensive, but you can make it better. You can make it more cost efficient, right? Okay, second big point, SEO, search engine optimization, and SEM, search engine marketing, is no longer as important with the rise of social. Now I talk so much about social, right? Being so important. So is SEO and SEM still relevant? Okay, think about it, right, as I go through. So for those who are new to SEM and SEO, these terms, just a quick one, just for the benefit of those who are new to it. So paid listing, right? So whenever you search through Google itself, let's say Insurance Singapore, all right, and Google will send it to their data, their churn, they'll get the results for you. And the rate, which are the ads, are considered paid listing, which are actually called search engine marketing. Yeah. And for organic listings, the part in blue, the results that you see in blue below, the map, the people also ask, and all these things can be optimized, and they are all part of SEO. So this is the entire Google system. So if you want to really play at the Google infrastructure or the marketing system, you have to engage in both SEM and SEO to be complete. Most of the searches, there are so many searches a second. Okay, of course, it's worldwide, but it's just to blow you with a bit of big numbers. But this is real, that SEO leads, right? Let's say if you have a leads that come in, right? This is from Search Engine Journal. The closing rate is usually highest because people actually, traditionally, all throughout my experience, right? Any leads that come through SEO, right? Except for the spammy ones, they are all the genuine leads, right? Usually tend to have higher quality. Yeah, means that they will get a customer from them, more likely. And just to go back to a study, so this is a study of people, internet users between 16 to 64, on what are their sources of new brand discovery. So you realize that search engine is still a big source of new brand discovery for many people. Of course, the rest are still there, but search engine lies comfortably on the top. Second, for those who are doing B2B, so if you are in the B2B business, you are dealing with other businesses, search engine is also very, very important. So if you are doing B2B, it will be good to really look into it as well. So the question is, in this age, right, is can you do it better? So pre-2020 and earlier, right, in SEO, right, let's say you want to optimize your website, make it show up, right? You will focus on keyword ranking, backlinks, to get authority and more content. Just generate a lot of content, yeah. And for example, you just want to show, yourself. You want to make sure that your website shows in these two parts. But post 2020, that means, in fact, it's not just 2020. It's probably earlier. But I just want to make it convenient for you. So post 2020, you should be, if you're doing SEO now, right, search engine optimization, you should be thinking of not just the pre-2020, they are still relevant, but you look at the post-2020, you look at the user experience, the conversion rate of your website or your property, and you have to look at better content design or inbound marketing, yeah? So what are the two ways you can do? You can improve your user experience and conversion rate. So for those who are new to conversion rate, so this is actually a screen showing the Google Analytics platform, which is tracking. You can install on your website to track data that comes into a website. So they actually show, in this case, it's an e-commerce brand, right? So there you have an e-commerce conversion rate. So it's just saying that out of so many people who come to your website over a certain period of time, a percentage of it converts into some kind of meaningful action. So you can think of it like a massive KPI. It's like the overall KPI. All the organizations and brands, all of you have KPIs, right? So this is the big KPI. This is the mother of all KPIs. Can I increase the conversion rate of my entire web property? Okay. So how can you do this? My suggestion is to start with simple things, all right? Of course, I don't have the time to talk about everything, but let me share with you some obvious things. Like start with your, contact us form, the humble contact us form. if you are a lead-based business, look at your form and make sure that you are giving many ways of interacting with your target persona or your industry. This is a good example. You get them to call, you allow them to click button to call, to message, or to send a message through a traditional form. Of course, there are other ways. You can have a bot as well. You can have a chat bot doing that as well. So these are some important ways to at least reduce the friction of people wanting to take action, and just to make it easier. So this is just a small snippet of what you can do for improving the conversion rate for a website. There's a lot of things. So if you are e-commerce brand, let's say you are selling products, if you look at the one on the left and the one on the right, which one do you prefer to buy? If you actually read at what I have, you will realize that, hey, wow, I want long winter's neck, which just look so much better as a story behind it. In fact, it makes it so mystical. So in e-commerce, you really have to look at the visuals, to the copy, to the checkout process. So these are the big three bugbears of e-commerce that I find that takes a lot of effort, not easy to do, takes time, but it's very worthwhile, especially if you have a product that means a lot to you. So the second one is to improve how you design and structure your content. Right? So you're going to produce content, right, for SEO and SEM. So how can you do this? There are three vital considerations for online content. First of all, wherever you are doing content, make sure that it's persona-based. Make sure you are writing for your target audience, right? I'm talking about content that they really like based on their interests, based on their life, their habits, not just their demographics. So, and your buyer persona may actually prefer a certain kind of content. So for some, let's say, for example, you are the legal sector, right? They might prefer to actually read, And certain sectors, right, they may prefer to watch videos. So this is something that you have. That's why you need to understand your persona well. And you need to make sure your content is journey-led. That means your content is split into awareness content, consideration content, and decision content. What do I mean? This means that you have to look at content that introduces you, and then at the consideration content itself, the consideration stage itself, you have to look at content that will sort of like educate them, add value to them. And the decision stage, you have to show proof. So you have to group them together and have a variety of this, because your buyer persona or the target customers, right, will go through a buying journey, and they all come in at different points of the journey. All right, they don't all come from awareness. Some of them are really a consideration, some of them are really a decision stage. So you need to have a well-organized content plan, put it this way. And the last thing is that before you write content, please make sure you check on the data. So the third important thing is to have data-driven content design, is to check using, there are quite a few tools around. I show quickly here. You can use the Google Ads Keyword Planner. You can use this tool on the left called People Also Ask. And you can have, these are another two tools. You can use these two tools to decide, hey, I think this content is good, but I'm validated by real data of people searching online. So you need to bring all these three together while you're creating your content to make sure that it's getting the best impact possible. Right. For SEO and SEM itself, you have to make sure that they work well together too. So I mentioned, right, that they are very relevant today. And you look at dominating versus coverage. So they can work well together. I'll give you an example, right? So for example, this in terms of life insurance Singapore, if you look at FWD term, FWD is pretty, I would say that they are pretty new, right, into the Singapore market. But you look at how aggressive they are. They actually put an ad. Their ad looks fantastic, right? They are dominating in the location search itself. They are also ranking in their organic search itself. So they have paid, organic, and third. So this is what I mean by domination. So if an word is important enough, you want to grow market share, you have to dominate. And for some, it's a coverage strategy. So this is a new brand, and it's only live. I don't even know what this is. But you see that you actually, they don't appear in any of the organic search, so they have to put the ad. So at least you need to cover the keyword. So this is how you interplay between SEO and SEM, all right, in short. All right, okay, let's come to the last point already. Okay, the third important thing that I want to share this afternoon is this. True or false? It is relatively easy to be a digital marketer with the wide availability of training. Don't worry, it's not a trick question. Okay. So you just have to think about it. Is it easy or not easy? Yeah, because I'm someone who picked this up. I am not marketing trained. I'm a computer graduate. I study code and programming. Yeah, in my as my first degree. So my thinking is this, okay, picking up digital marketing feels like learning the piano to me, because I learned both instruments before. So what do I mean by this? It means that, when you pick up digital marketing, it feels as if there's a lot of things, but then it's easy to make a sound out of it, because you just need to pull on the key and you get a sound. But if you learn a cello like me, I also learned, and you realize that in order to produce one sound, one good sound, or like a violin, yeah, you will need to know a lot more things to even start producing a decent sound, yeah, or decent song. So, but both of them end up challenging in their own right. It's easy to pick up the piano, but if you want to be a piano master, you want to be world famous, or you want to be very good at it, it's not easy. So that's what I mean. Digital marketing feels like it. So what I'm going to do is to, the last part of my sharing today is to talk to you about what I feel are some of the challenges and that we will face when you pick, and some of the things that I feel are important for marketers to learn. I call it the 4P skill pyramid for digital marketers, because this is something that I condensed over the last 7-8 years, because I interview people, right? I hire media buyers, copywriters, and went through a lot of interviews, look at what happens to them after they join, and if they don't work out, what is it that they don't do so well? So it allows me to understand where people are strong in, so if let's say you are marketing yourself, so you can also use it as a way to gauge yourself. Oh, am I good at this or am I not good? Let me go through these three. So these are the four, starting with the platforms, the persuasion, the predictability, and PD. All right, the mysteriously sounding PD. All right, so platforms. So with a lot of platforms, this is the easy part, right? Now there's a lot of training online. If you go to Facebook, Facebook have their own training. If you go Google Ads have their own training. You go HubSpot their own training. And LinkedIn have their own training as well recently. The challenge is all this training is good, but they tend to be a little bit like general. So unfortunately, sometimes you don't actually get a lot of clarity, but it's still a good start. It's still a good start. So in some sense, right, so picking up platform marketing skills is actually quite simple. In a sense, if you have some time and, in Singapore, right, where all of us are all highly educated, it's not really difficult at all. Just take a bit of time to put it through, to go through it. But as you go up the pyramid, right, this is the part where I think is a little bit more challenging for a lot more people, because when you want to run ads, you have to look at this thing called persuasion. Especially I think a lot of digital marketers now may not have come from a marketing background, but these are 4 important things. What are the 4 important things? If you look at the top left image, what is this? I mentioned this before, storytelling. You do need to have a sense of storytelling itself now, especially now. On the right, you have to look at copywriting. And on the bottom right, let's start with bottom left. Bottom left, you have to read up and learn about human psychology. And on the bottom right, you have to look at what is this eye? You have to also get a little bit of visual communication sense. All right. This is very important for marketers. If you want to be a very well-rounded marketer, you have to look at, why would this font be chosen? Why would this color be chosen? Is this visual useful? Can I innovate on how it looks? Okay, so next is this predictability. So remember, this we are going up the pyramid, right? So from platforms, you pick up your some persuasion skills, and what is predictability? That means that at the end of the day, as a marketer, right, if let's say you are ultimately going to drive the performance of a brand, you need to go into the data. You need to look at the data clearly. You need to be able to understand what they are, how they interact with each other, and what they mean accurately. And on the right side, no, this is not a science lesson. Okay, this carbon cycle, I put it there just to tell people that, you know, you also need to have skills in systems thinking. You need to exercise, you need to have what I call ability to see the whole marketing ecosystem as a system, just like a nature, you know, there's a carbon cycle, right? So in digital marketing, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to engineer, you know, you're trying to use data, you use the skills, you're trying to engineer a system that works for a brand, for a company, for your business. So you need to test, you need to form conclusions, you need to test with understanding. So that's why these are, I consider, slightly more higher order skills where you need to do after you have gone through the initial two. So the last one, but not least, okay, I got this because I interview a lot of, I was just looking at my agency and the marketers that I know. What are the things that really make them stand out? And what is the best marketers, the 2 or 3 marketers in my team itself? Who are they? What kind of characteristics do they have? So these are the 6, right? The famous 6, right? One is it they are performance and result oriented. They are generally highly competitive, even though they may be quiet. So that means you may be quiet, but you are competitive. So some people are very quiet, but they're very competitive, right? It's just like somebody play games, right? Somebody play the you know, they can play mobile game, but they're very competitive. They must win, you know. Yeah, you want this kind of people. So highly analytical, and they need to know why they are winning. They need to go and research and understand that, hey, you know, I want to have evidence that I'm winning. I want to make sure that this is correct. But yet they are flexible, adaptable, and curious. They're always picking up new things. And they generally tend to have a sense of problem solving. They don't go down and say, oh no, it's not working. What should I do? They're just thinking, they're just stoning there. Yeah. And lastly, but not least, very important, systematic and diligent. Okay. A lot of people have fallen short of being systematic. Can be too messy, you know. Sometimes so these are the 4. So just to recap, so just want to share with you, these are the 4 key skills that I feel is very important for marketers in the coming years ahead, actually. Yeah, so these are also the things that I look out for. Even for myself, I'm also looking at, oh, what am I picking up? What am I learning next? What other interesting things can I pick up? So these are the things that I can look at. All right. And the real digital marketing always put marketing before digital, remember? So although platforms are there, it's quite easy to learn, but to be really good, right, you really have to put a marketing bit. You know, you need to put data and marketing before the digital. Although the word digital marketing comes with digital at the front. Right, so just a quick last one before I end. So even for my story itself, maybe for some of you who are also in the journey, I consider myself still in the journey, or even though I've been marketing for many brands over a long time. I pick up, in my IT days, I pick up project management skills. In my education days, I pick up communication discipline skills. I was teaching in a polytechnic, and I did spend 2 years full-time being an affiliate marketer, having my own gig. And I learned a lot about media buying, did up a ton of copywriting and about business and entrepreneurship. Then I was with a US startup company where they forced me to learn all the platforms. Well, it was a great thing during that time. It was very stressful, actually. But so that's why I pick up everything I need to know before I joined Neo360, where I pick up a lot of the strategy things. So at Neo360, you realize that I've come through a journey myself. And I also want to share that, you know, it's very important to pick up your transferable skills as you go through each one. You build your personal network, you build your industry knowledge across different verticals. You pick up all your your transferable skills. And lo and behold, you realize that actually that pyramid that you see is actually not so challenging after all. Yeah, it's actually, you have actually sort of like grown these little skills throughout time. All right. All right. So before I end, I just want to share with this that something that I will share with the training that in the classes that I do for training. I say the guru within you lies in blood, sweat, and tears, sprinkled with a healthy dose of courage. You do need a little bit of courage to try out new things in marketing. Yeah. So if you want something to be always like proven to be safe before doing, then marketing will not be easy for you. Yeah. All right. I think that's all. I'm happy to be here once again. So I have QR code here, and if you think that you want to connect with me, and you have a question about your brand that you want to ask, and you don't have time today, then just feel free to connect with me. You can scan this, take up a phone and scan either of this. Yeah, and I'm happy to have a chat with you. Yeah, so it's part of what I like to do. All right. So without much ado, maybe I should pass this time over to Timothy. Yeah.
Yes, hi. Thanks, Henry. Thanks for your sharing and your insights as well as your personal experience. We do have some questions. I think there's quite a couple of questions. Yeah, perhaps you can try and group them together in the interest of time.
Yeah.
One from Eddie.
Go ahead.
IT professionals are taking up marketing jobs, right? So what do marketers need to do in order for them to keep up? And also, what about companies who have regular customers like the military? Should they even consider going into digital marketing?
Wow, that's a very loaded question. So let's start. Okay. Can I see the question? Okay, I'm trying to see where the questions are. So at least I know.
Okay. They are in the Q&A box under answered. Yeah.
Okay, so which one are you looking at?
Two of them are from Eddie. I think perhaps we can start with the one that is talking about IT professionals who are taking up marketing jobs. So as marketers, what do you have to do in order for you to keep up? You know, what skills are essential?
Well, I think I already shared the skills just now. So you see, if let's say IT professionals are taking up marketing, digital, well, you must understand where is the strength in what you have done. For IT, for people who are IT, right, to come into digital, right, generally already because of the training they go through, because I'm a computer grad, right, just nice, you tend to be very systematic. You tend to have a divide and conquer, you know, all these algorithm things you already learn. So you're pretty good at that. So if you are, let's say about marketing, right, this is not an exposure that you have, then you want to learn to pick up, to be more, then learn a little bit of how to be more systematic, analytical, because it's just like engineers, right? Engineers going to marketing, you generally have certain strengths inherent in what they do, but they would not have the marketing know-how. They will know the four Ps, they will not know all these things. So they have to pick up persuasion. They will know, they probably be struggling with communication and persuasion. Yeah. So, right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have one that is about the future challenges of digital marketing.
The future challenges, okay, if you want to talk about as a whole, right, the challenges is that with the changes in the iOS, and now with Google also taking away the the third-party cookies, right? So essentially, you'll be privacy focused in the coming 2-3 years. And we are just going to go into it next year. Google delayed it, you know, because I think they know that people cannot too fast. So what should you do? The brands, right, is very important for them, right, to start to build a following. And that's why having all this storytelling is very important. You need to build your own first party. That means the followers who you can identify. So I see it as a good thing, actually. I see the challenge as moving marketing in the right, online in the right way. That means you're trying to connect better, and you're trying to make sure that they become real fans. And so it's no longer so it's good. Well, there's still a place for transactional marketing, but I guess this will, for some of the bigger brands, they definitely have to dig deeper and start use the time that is needed to really start getting this started, to engage with their audience a lot better.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We have some question. We have a question on how do you find current and future keywords that customers is asking for a particular item when they shop to manage an effective campaign? I think he's looking at search words, right? How do you find effective search words?
Okay. So search words. So if you are talking about I think I already mentioned the two. So you can try the Google Keyword Planner. So if I may, let me see if I can jump quickly backward itself. Yeah, so on the right itself. So if you actually see it, right, actually now the tools are fantastic because the keyword planner, right, they actually show you, right, whether that keyword has a certain term has competition. And sometimes, the good old, go to Google and just look at the keyword and see who are the people marketing there. I can tell you for one thing, right, if a brand or anything has been marketing there for like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or for a while, right, definitely is a profitable keyword. Okay, so there's sometimes it's just looking at it from a common sense point of view. Yeah, making sure that, yeah.
Okay. There are a couple of questions on the program itself, which I'm going to try and attempt. One is by Lu-Sing. After the course, do I need to pass the test to get enlisted? Okay. And then there's another one that is that asked about if I'm not good at copywriting, am I suitable to become a digital marketer? And also the third one that I saw earlier about the program is does it teach SEO and SEM? Okay, the program in particular that we're gonna talk about that this particular webinar is based on the digital marketing and content creation. I think today Henry has shared on the digital marketing aspect, but through his entire sharing, he has always spoken about storytelling, right? And that comes from content, and that comes from content creation. So this digital marketing and content creation program focuses on two aspects, or actually several aspects. When we talk about digital marketing, we also talk about social media marketing. We talk about digital marketing in terms of SEO, SEM. We also talk about analytics. We also talk about the main points and platforms that Henry has covered. Now, the other part of the program that is presented as part of this program is also content creation. So essentially what we do is we actually train our students to create content completely using mobile, right? So this program is actually meant for people who are career switchers. They may not have, they may be IT, they may be marketing, they may be from outside the industry. I think this is a good way to enter the digital marketing industry, right? And I think this year LinkedIn has published its 15 rising job functions across the world, and one of them is digital marketing. The other one is online content creators, right? So this is an interesting nugget of information for you guys. So there is one that Henry, can you try and help and answer? How do you measure A/B testing of product or service?
How do you measure A/B testing?
A/B testing, yeah.
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of tools that does A/B testing. The easiest way, in fact, some of the platforms, right? Facebook itself, when you run campaign, you actually do A/B testing. And there are also third-party tools that you can also do so. But maybe I should add one thing, right? A/B testing, I think in today's context, right, is good. It's always needed. But I always believe that you should make sure that you spend more time doing a first one first. Really spend more time studying your consumers and writing something that resonates with them. I can tell you actually, then your A/B testing will come. I would call it the further testing, right? You establish a control. With the control, that means the one that is holding the performance, right? You're trying to create something to beat the control. So this is what you can do. So because not everyone have the budget to run A/B testing, ABC testing, multivariate testing. Seriously, it's a lot of testing. But sometimes I think, from my experience, is that it's better to spend more time creating more quality content as well. All right. Okay.
Okay. We have another question that is also related to digital marketing, but it's more on the employment side, right? For companies looking to employ the people with the skills in digital marketing, will they take someone without experience? Right, that's one. And second thing, what some of the things that a digital marketer per se will face, whether it's an SME or whether it's in an MNC?
Okay, this is a very interesting question because I did have the benefit of running things on my own and learning this, but I do see a reason why people ask this, because people ask, oh, have you run campaign before? So my tip is this, all right? If you decide that, hey, I want to do digital marketing, I want to be someone skilled in, probably even be highly skilled in time, then firstly, so you should pick up the skills first. You should learn, take up the program. The program, right, will give you a starting point. It's not going to end. Then what you can do is this. Maybe before you even approach companies, right, maybe you should just help some friends. You know people who have businesses, go and offer some help. Copywriting. So if you find that you are good at copywriting, you say, I really feel for it and I really like, let me try offer something, and try to help out. I can bet you have people who will need it, right? There are people who are doing content. You will have friends who are working in different parts of agents, real estate agents, insurance, even those they will need some help in content. Or you can even start by helping. Yeah, so you start with that. And unless you're doing your own business or you're trying your own thing, you can also do it. I've seen people who actually did on their own. They are running their own little shop, right? Or they run their own little thing, they run their own campaign. Or they do it for their wife. So you have something. And I give you one thing. Okay, so if you want to approach a company with very little experience, my tip is to when you go to interview, when you approach them, send them a marketing plan for them. Show that you already think for them. You don't go in and say, oh, please hire me. A lot of people come in and say, oh, please. But use your skills, take what you've learned and produce something great. And they look at it, wow, okay, this guy really think, or this lady really know what is going beyond the call of duty. Yeah, these are things that I usually tell people, there are ways to go around it.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add on as well, Henry. I think for this program that we're talking about, which is the Professional Certificate in Digital Marketing and Content Creation, that we are partnered NUS ISS for, as well as AAMS. I think the main focus is that while you learn, it's a very hands-on training program. You will eventually develop a portfolio, you develop a product with which you can actually use to illustrate that you actually do have actual experience, because we do encourage people throughout the program, like what Henry has said, to do marketing on your own, right? And it is not expensive. You could find a product right now and then go onto Facebook and buy ads, and it is not expensive, right? So okay, we have only got time for at most 1 or 2 questions. So if you're not able to answer all of your questions, I'm very sorry. We do have some questions pertaining to curriculum. What will happen later on is, after the webinar, we will be sending you an email. And if you have any questions pertaining to the curriculum, which my colleague Lucas has shared, you can ask them right now. So while we have Henry here, I'd like to ask questions that pertain to Henry's expertise. All right. This is a very big question. Do you think that social media is a double-edged sword?
So another super loaded question. Yes, it's well, I have my thoughts about it. Just candidly, even for myself, I don't use a lot of social media, even though I do a lot of social media marketing. But because when I go in, I'm going like a marketer. I'm looking at what's happening. Yeah. So, but it's double-edged sword because because I feel that it's a little bit shallow sometimes, the communications. Everyone is a friend, everyone's connecting. So I feel that the brands that are able to connect people through a digital channel is going to win a long game. So everyone can advertise, everyone can throw an ad up. And I do feel, of course, there's also studies that says that, spending too much time on social is not very healthy for your mental well-being. because yeah, people, it's just very skewed, because you only share a little bit of yourself. You share the good things. Some people always share the good things. So you think that, oh, everyone's life is so great. I've heard this from my friend. So but actually it's not true, right? It's not true. It's just showing that, so I guess, it is a double-edged sword. And any tool, right? Actually, it just as an overall, any tool itself is double-edged sword. There's nothing that's not double-edged, right, in the world. It's always about the balance. Yeah.
Yes, I agree, and I think that as marketers, many marketers or many people in the IT industry or people who are aspiring to get into the digital marketing or social media marketing industry, they oftentimes look at a certain aspect of the industry, and I think some look at data analytics and the algorithms and the programming aspect, but many people forget that there are content creators that are very good in producing content and compelling stories and brand stories, right? There are people who are very good at designing and writing on the digital landscape, the strategy, the people who actually can capture and understand the audience. Audience insights is another position, right? The last one, of course, you have the data scientists, the people who look at infographics, there are many positions in the digital marketing industry.
Yes, and there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. And I think that it is a double-edged sword, but the brand, the portion that brands oftentimes and also marketers oftentimes forget. And if there are marketers out there, I think this is my opinion. The way social media works is very counterintuitive for the traditional training of a marketer, especially in terms of crisis. So let's take, for example, the example that you have given, the seafood restaurant that took the crabs out for a walk and then got major backlash, right? So what do you do in a crisis like that? So a normal marketer will say, I need to jump in and defend my brand. But from a marketing and a social media crisis management perspective is, no, you let your brand champions jump in and you hold a very neutral ground, right? So if you're really at fault, you do a sincere apology, but that's kind of counterintuitive. So I think that, from that perspective, social media has allowed audiences to engage, or companies to engage directly with the audiences, but at the same time, it's opened the gates for audiences to be more vocal. So I think crisis management is another aspect that I think is oftentimes neglected.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think we have overran by 15 minutes. I hope that it has been informative and enriching experience for all of you. So please do scan the QR codes for the post-webinar survey. And should you need advisory on skills and training, please also scan the QR code for skills and training advisory. We will be sending an email to everyone who has attended the webinar. Okay, should you have any questions that we may not have been able to answer right now, please feel free to ask the questions. We will be happy to answer the question.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Before we go, I'd like to say a big thank you to Henry. Henry, thank you for taking the time and sharing your expertise.
Pleasure.
Yeah. All right. I'd also like to thank the team SMA and also AAMS, as well as a shout out to SSG for putting together this brown bag lunch. My name is Timothy Tan. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. We look forward to more sessions like that.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a good lunch. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.